I'll call this meeting to order. This is the City of Cottonwood Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting for July 20th, 2020. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hart.
Present.
Commissioner Dow.
Here.
Commissioner Maston.
Present.
Commissioner DeSisto.
Present.
Commissioner Sherman.
Here.
Chairman Williams.
Here. As you can see, we have a new commissioner tonight, Mr. DeSisto. Tom, would you give a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Tom DeSisto, new commissioner. We're a resident of Cottonwood. We've been a resident here approximately 6 years. We moved down from Spokane when I retired from my second job. First was the United States Navy for 20 years. We have 4 children, all grown, 3 girls and 1 son. Let's see. Basically, I enjoy being a part of something. I am a member trustee of the Jerome Elks, board of directors for the Tucson Children's Hospital Steel Research Center, board of directors for the golf course. Dressed like this, I do work part-time at O'Reilly's to fill in any spare time I have. Thank you, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, welcome aboard, Tom. We appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Good. Next item on the agenda is election of a new vice chairman. Unfortunately, our vice chairman, Jesse Dowling, the other Dowling, is no longer with us, and so we need to appoint another vice chairman. And I'd like to start nominations I'd like to nominate Chris Dow for the vice chairman. Do I have a second for that nomination?
I'll second.
Commissioner Sherman seconds that motion. Do I have any other nominations for the vice chair? If not, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hart.
Aye.
Commissioner Dow.
Oh, abstain.
Sorry. Commissioner Maston.
Aye.
Commissioner DeSisto.
Aye.
Commissioner Sherman.
Aye.
Chairman Williams.
Aye. Unanimously carried with 1 absentee. Congratulations, Chris. We really appreciate you taking over that vital role for us. It gives me off the hook. You can make all the motions and go from there. Okay, next item on business is our approval of minutes for the June 15th, 2020 regular meeting. Do I hear any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes as written? Anybody? If not, we'll I'll call for a vote, just voice vote. Aye?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Mr. Director, any informational reports and updates, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission. I don't have much, just an update. Last Thursday, we had our last virtual open house on the Parks Master Plan. We did have attendance by Commissioner Maston and a few people from the public. So we're going to wrap up this plan and then take it to council probably in September. And this is part of that CDBG funds that we got last year to move forward and see what our parks and recreation and open space could benefit from. So be on the lookout for that. It's an ongoing process that you'll see in the community. May allow us to do some wayfinding signs throughout the city. That's still kind of dependent on where it falls in the plan. So just keep an eye out on that. It's a very interesting project. It'll shed some light on where we're at with our parks and where we want to go with them.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? We're okay? All right. Next item on the agenda is call to the public. This is a time when anybody would like to address the commission on any item not on our agenda. I don't have any notes, so I assume there's nobody who would like to address us. So on to the first item of official business is new business. CUP 20005 Spring Hill Suites, consideration of an amendment to the conditional use permit stipulations. Mr. Director, you take it up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission. So as you know, last month, the Commission approved the Spring Hill Suites project with the conditional use permit and design review. We have a stipulation in there that we put on all conditional use permits that basically says if anything on the use creates irreparable harm, the city could go in and revoke the permit. After the meeting, the applicant did come to us with some concerns with that. We reviewed it and determined that for this type of project and the scope of this project, that stipulation doesn't really fit. It's kind of a catch-all stipulation that we put because of some things that we saw happen in other places last year that required something to close down. So after consulting with our legal team, we decided to probably be a better idea to put something like that in our conditional use permits. Unfortunately, it did slip in there on this case where it shouldn't. It doesn't necessarily apply to every conditional use permit, but the applicant's now asking for it to be rescinded and the commission to re-vote with that stipulation removed.
Okay. And the other condition is with the, what was the second was the, let's see, you have the two stipulations, right?
Yeah,
One
there
was the small, the land division.
Yeah, the other one was related to the minor land division, but that one should remain. There's no, it's more of a technicality. We like to keep it in there to make sure that we follow the right processes before certain things happen. In this case, it is on track to be done the way it should be done in the time that it should. So we want to leave that one in there. We did relay that information to the applicant as well.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of Scott? Any on that?
What was,
Yeah. Yes,
what was their concern specifically about the language that they want rescinded?
The way it says that the city could potentially come in and shut them down.
Oh, so they're just worried about after the fact?
Right. And we still have the ability to make sure that they hold with the conditions of approval and the stipulations that are in there, but we're not looking to come in and shut them down.
Okay.
Is a representative from the applicant here tonight? Would you like to address, do you have any comments on that? You want to? And your name for the record, please, sir.
Brian Welker with Sunridge Hotel Group. Yeah, I don't really have any comments. He explained it pretty well. We just have a concern that we don't want to close on the land and have that hanging over our head where the city could come in and shut us down. And if they determine if there is a problem that we don't know about, we've done all our due diligence. If there is a problem, we'd like to address it before we close, because I don't want to close having that stipulation out there.
Yeah.
It doesn't really need to be. I don't know of any public, what do they call it, a public safety concern or.
Yeah, and we haven't seen
Yeah.
anything that would be.
Yeah, that's covered it anyway. If you had construction problems, they'd come in and shut you down anyway, probably.
Right.
With the land division, that should automatically happen once you record the deed. And they've got a survey and they're working with the assessor's office. So, you're not going to start construction before the sale closes.
Right.
Is it fine we just leave that one in there, and that's just sort of, that historically has covered them on some other cases where they're a little bit less clear than that?
Sure.
What's going on?
But you just request that it be
Yeah.
not part of the closing.
Yeah. So you don't have a problem with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, we were fine with the other stipulations.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions of, I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
Question? Okay. All right. Anybody else would like to address the commission on this item? I don't see any notations, so I'll close the floor to the public. Commissioner Hart, your thoughts?
No additional commentary.
You okay with the way it's written, and
Yes.
go ahead with it? Okay. Vice Chairman?
Okay, good to go.
It's fine.
Fine?
It's fine.
Okay, real fine. All right, I'm the same way. I think, that would be good. We still retain historically the ability on these land divisions to make sure that they're done. I think you have more problem when they try to assemble it into one than when they divide it.
Yes.
But yeah, good to have it. Okay, Mr. Vice Chairman, I would entertain a motion on this. item, if you would, please.
I would move to approve the deletion of stipulation number 9 from CUP 20-005 and DR 20-003 to allow Santan Hotel Partners to exceed the allowable height requirements. All other stipulations, is that right? It shouldn't be the height requirement, is it? That's not the one we're taking out.
Yeah, that was their conditional use permit, was for the height requirement.
Yeah, but was it, was that the wording of it?
The original
If you look
motion.
just before the map.
Yeah, that was part of the
aerial
wording on the
photograph,
original
That would
motion.
be the language.
All right, so I move to approve the deletion of stipulation number 9 for CUP 20-005 and DR 20-003 to allow Santan Hotel Partners to exceed the allowable height requirements. All other stipulations related to the project from June 15, 2020, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will remain applicable.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Mattson seconds the Vice Chairman's motion. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hart?
Aye.
Commissioner Dow?
Aye.
Commissioner Maston?
Aye.
Commissioner DeSisto?
Aye.
Commissioner Sherman?
Aye.
Chairman Williams?
Aye, unanimously carried. Very fine. Thank you. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. All right, next item is conditional use permit 20006 for Vortex ATV. Considering use permit to operate a vehicle rental business in a C1 district. Mr. Davis, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Gary Davis with Community Development. This is, as you indicated, a conditional use permit request for ATV rental business. The site is located at Main Street and 14th Street. It's on a site in conjunction with another business that's already there that takes people out for recreational excursions. This is a look on Main Street, looking northwest towards the cemetery, and then looking the opposite way back southeast on Main Street. You can see the ATVs on display. The site plan shows that there would be a 10-foot landscaping area behind the lot line, so those ATVs, as well as the little orange shed there, would be moved back. I just wanted to refer to that while we're seeing the picture here. Looking south from the property across Main Street, you see some commercial businesses. And looking west on Main Street, you see a automotive repair on the south side of the road, looking towards the cemetery. This is the back of the building on Greenlee Street, looking west towards the cemetery. And this is the view south on 14th Street. This would be the west side of the property. The site plan that the applicant submitted shows the original building on the site. That's the business of the excursion I was talking about. Down the southeast portion of the site would be spaces for 8 display spaces for 8 ATVs, and the shed where some of that business is run out of. Again, that would be moved back behind the setback lines. The setback lines are shown here on the site plan that's in your packet. And it shows the landscaping around the perimeter on the northwest and south sides. That the proposal is to operate a ATV rental business in conjunction with the other business on this site. We do have representatives of the business here to answer any questions you might have. We've also had a couple of comments. Got one that I'll read for you. This was from Bill Bennett from Carmel, California. He says, "Thanks for the opportunity to assist you in this challenging decision, and I look forward to the final determination. Inasmuch as I have no general reason to consider the permit as unworthy, I do have to wish you consider the potential for environmental impact of oil pollution. So I have to wonder as to what the local area impact of ATV traffic in the visible distance from Cottonwood, such as off-road trails, dust clouds, and the noise these vehicles tend toward. The business seems to be a benefit to the city and may encourage general growth, which is always a good thing. Venture on, signed Bill Bennett. Another comment, I got a phone call this morning from a resident from behind the building on Greenlee Street. It would be across from here. She says occasionally people park a motorhome in this spot right here, and it makes it difficult for them to back out. She didn't have any objection to the use per se. It was just she wanted to bring up that there was an issue with parking on that street. So I'm forwarding it, and her name was Alana Adams.
It looks like from their plan, though, they're going to landscape this
That is supposed to be
area.
a landscaping strip, so that is not supposed to be a parking area.
Yeah, so that
So they
might,
would have to either park entirely on the street, which would make it even more difficult because of the narrow
Yeah.
pavement there, or find another place for them.
right, okay. And I understand from our discussion the other day that there are not going to be any, can you talk about the operation a little bit as you understand it, and we'll talk to the applicant?
Yes, the operation is discussed in the materials that we forwarded to you. Generally, the idea is to not rent vehicles on site, but to make the transactions on site, have people look at the ATVs on site, and then meet the owners at a remote location and go from there, rather than park a lot on this site. So there's 10 parking spaces on this site, and the commission has the ability to say that these parking spaces are adequate because this is a use that isn't listed in our parking standards. So when it's not listed in the parking standards, it gives the planning commission the opportunity or the leeway to determine the parking is appropriate or not.
And I understand they're not going to do any maintenance either on this site?
It's my understanding, but we do have representatives
All right,
of the
good. We can talk.
of the business here, so. you can ask
Who's
them.
in the other building? What's the tenancy in the other building on
Excuse me?
site? What's the tenancy on the other building on site?
AOC, I think.
I forget offhand the name of the other business. Oh, Southwest Adventures.
Renters, okay. And they're in kayak and
Right.
and
A similar
rentals and so forth.
type of use, and again, they
Okay.
meet people at the sites. But
Okay.
again, we've got the people right here who can tell you more about it than I can.
Okay, very good. Okay, Commissioner Arnn, any questions of Gary on this?
Not right now.
Okay. Vice Chairman, any questions of Gary?
So there will be landscape going in, correct?
That's
There's going to be an
required
improvement on this.
Yeah, that is part of the site plan. Landscaping is required, and one of the stipulations that we're recommending is adherence to the site plan.
Okay. Who's responsible for the landscape? Is it the person submitting this, or is it the actual owner of the property?
It would be whoever the business owner is, whoever holds the conditional use permit.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Masson? Any?
No questions at this time.
Any technical questions of Gary?
I have no questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. And who's here tonight for the applicant? And if you'll give us each one of your names, please, we'd appreciate it for the record. Into the microphone. Please speak into the microphone.
My name's Nathaniel Colley, also known as Nate Colley.
Deanna Colley.
And you can take your mask off for that. Maybe we'll understand you a little easier. There you go. All right. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing here.
My husband and I bought the business about a year and a half ago, and our idea is to get people into the Cottonwood tourism area. Recently, he passed a week and a half ago, and we're trying to venture this out because he really did have a passion and loved the area and the trails. And we've been very fortunate in this area. I do have to say the response of amazing people here, even though we've only been here for a short time. Moving aside of that, Vortex ATV has a vision. We don't want to be a Sedona ATV by any means. We want to get people to know the area for what it is. Cottonwood has a lot to offer. We have a lot of locals that reach out to us in the Verde Valley. So the goal in the area is to make ATVs in the trails accessible. This location is a prime location for us because access to 2.5 miles on trails on each way, plus the visual. We've been so far very trying to work our way into the community, and I guess that's all I can say. If you have any other questions, please let us know.
Yeah, so what we're trying to really do is incorporate kind of an outdoor feeling within the community. There's a couple kayaking companies within Cottonwood and Jerome area, but other than that, there's really not a lot of other entities. And so we're trying to bring something else to the town and bring it to kind of the tourism industry. And so in regards to the location, being with OACs, the kayaking company that is currently there, I think it is a great opportunity for us to potentially, like what we're doing right now is we do have a road to river set up, which is a 2-hour kayaking tour. And then on top of that, you do a 2-hour off-road tour, giving a kind of off-road adventure from the Cottonwood side of things instead of from the Sedona side of things.
And not only that, with this pandemic we are very fortunate to have an opportunity to possibly be in this location. And that's been for both businesses.
Right.
And so we do understand one of the bigger issues right now is parking spots there. Having only 10 parking spots, what we both have done as companies, OAC and Vortex ATV, is we've taken the stand of saying OAC meets the people at the river at Tuzigoot, and then they bring them in their shuttle bus from Tuzigoot to Tapgoat and then go down from there. Us, on the other hand, they come to the shop to pick up all their rental, like their gear, their maps, everything. And then what we try to do is we try to meet them at the trailhead, whether it be at the church going on the way to Sedona, or 131 where Tuzigoot is, or Mingus Mountain. Wherever the customer and whoever is potentially going to rent wants to meet us, we're trying to do that to avoid having a congested parking lot in a congested place, because we do understand right behind us it is a residential area and we want to respect the people. And so in regards to that, hours of operation, we're doing from 9 in the morning through 5 p.m. Depending on that, of course, some people get lost out there and come back a little bit later. But other than that, the whole purpose of it is to just be able to bring a sense of tourism, community, adventure, bring everything kind of together outside of just kayaking and river activities here.
Now, when they're through, where do you meet them once they're through?
At the end of the adventure?
Yes, at the end.
Wherever their car was parked.
Okay, so you're back to where they, not back at your
and
site.
The nice thing is because they do have access and service throughout all the trails. At any point in time, if they're uncomfortable or if they just need to get a ride, or at any point they need to communicate with us, i.e. to pick them up, then that's when they just call us and we meet them there. We live within 5 minutes of town, and so we're around all the time. We're taking care of the vehicles, taking care of family.
Maintenance is not done on site.
No maintenance. I shouldn't say no maintenance. The only maintenance that is done is we do wash down and sanitize the vehicles at the location.
Okay.
Besides that, we have our separate repair shop, and then other than that, it's just more of kind of a storage and inventory location for the vehicles. Okay. And so we do understand behind the parking spots and the limited amount of space, and we're trying to work with the city and work with everyone in this situation. So.
Sure, real fine. Commissioner Hart, do you have any questions of the applicant, please?
I'd like to get a confirmation that all you're going to have at the site are example vehicles. The vehicles on the site are not available for rental, and so the people are not going to be going from the site to go off-roading. Is that correct?
A lot of times we deliver the vehicles, like Dead Horse Ranch. We deliver vehicles to Dead Horse Ranch. Or, like he said, Bill Gray Road, we do have applicable times that we meet them. We have trailers and everything to access it.
And so the majority of booking, we don't do really walk-in bookings. It's all online bookings. And so in regards to online bookings,
So you're not going to have a lot of traffic coming in and out that much anyway,
No.
because the people are going to be doing it online.
Right.
yeah, and it's a dangerous intersection right there. Even just turning us, going to the gas station to grab gas, just taking the left right out of there. It's a busy road. Main Avenue and Main Street is a very busy road, and so that's where we're doing our best to try and figure out a way to accommodate them and safely at the same time. So,
Okay. Thank you.
of course.
Vice Chairman, do you have any questions of the applicant?
This is probably outside of it a little bit, but the road work that we're doing encompasses that portion, right?
Yes.
So
No, it does not right now.
it should, though. It should extend out that far. So in the near future, traffic, the speed's going to be reduced, and the amount of traffic flow, because of the way it's going to be built out, will be reduced. So it will help lessen that intersection. So
That's really good to hear.
That's coming. It won't be quite that bad. So my main concern is the landscape on the site right now. I want to ensure that we're going to do something with this corner. It's not just going to stay like it is. The back side of this, I understand you're not the owner. The back side of this, though, somebody has to look at this from their house. Somebody's house faces the back side of this, and right now it's kind of unruly.
Part of what our goal is, once we can get utilities out there to mark things, is to pull the dead and put our crushed granite in there. So that will be on that side of it, right there. That's all part of the landscape model.
So there's a couple plans going forward. What we need to do is get the utility people out there. We're waiting to hear back from you guys on the zoning to see if we should go forward. We want to make sure that we're on the same page instead of trying to just jump steps and clean up this. We have plans to take out the stumps there, put in a nice either gravel or mulch there, and because it is, if you were behind there as a resident, you would not want to see that. That's almost disrespectful as a business to as a resident in town. So.
Right, and that's my concern is we already have this going on, and to add more, I guess you could say, clutter to the corner without some beautification would bother me.
Yeah.
So that's a concern of mine. Another concern of mine is I have quite a bit of background with rental companies, boat rental companies and ATV rental companies, and I have some concerns. And those concerns are sometimes these companies aren't the best at giving out safety stuff. They're not the best at explaining the rules. They're not the best at making sure that their rentals are in compliance with the law, so that the renter goes out and gets stopped for a traffic violation or something, and next thing you know is we don't have insurance, we didn't have current registration. So those concerns come to light and stuff like this, and we don't want this. Don't get me wrong, this is a great idea. I love it. We need this type of thing in Cottonwood. What we don't want is to get overrun by these type of businesses where we have 100 of these things running around town and zooming in and out. When you go to Sedona, you're just like, oh, it's like mosquitoes.
It's overwhelming, no doubt
Yeah.
about it.
So that's a concern of mine is what do you guys do to ensure that your renters have all the stuff that they need and the education to do this?
Right now, currently, we do have the employees, we walk them through. Each person that comes in, they have to sign an insurance waiver on them personally besides our own policy. So that's in play. Plus, we also have helmets, goggles, everything safety. We walk them through the trails. We walk them through the machines. They are routinely maintenance off-site to ensure that these vehicles and the people are safe. Insurance, registration, everyth's in the vehicle. We have not had any issues, any stops, any questions in the past year.
And so,
And a half.
in regards to the Sedona thing and how there's ATVs going everywhere there, we see that too, and we don't like that. We're not about just mass producing people going out on the trails. We're more about having a connection and a family connection, and really just about building a community involvement. And so we don't really think about expanding that far past our 8 vehicles that we currently have.
No.
Like, that is, it's really unrealistic. What we would prefer to do that is, instead of expanding here in Cottonwood, if it does work out with the city here in Cottonwood, potentially doing it at a different location, but keeping it small fleet of vehicles instead of having the 100, 200 fleet vehicles. Like, it's overwhelming for us to see that as a company, because we understand it a little bit, but just not to the same level as Sedona per se. So in regards to that, we really don't, we had no anticipation, no plan. That's kind of the last thing we really want to do. So.
Okay. And the last question I have is, are you permitted through the United States Forest Service?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Just a question about the parking. So with your staff, like how many staff do you have on site during the day? I saw when I was reading it that you really don't need very many. You said, I think it says minimal.
Mm-hmm.
What's minimal? And I'm thinking about how that's going to impact the parking.
Usually it's one of the owners and possibly one extra person.
Okay, so 2 cars.
And really it's not, because a lot of times we pick them up, I'm going to be honest with you. So it's 1 vehicle. And it's
Okay.
usually the truck, just in case there's a breakdown or something.
And then piggybacking on the vice chairman's technical question from earlier, you guys are going to be the ones installing and keeping up the landscaping, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
All right.
Yeah.
And you guys have a landscaping company and everything contracted? Or
We have not, we're waiting for approval.
Okay. That's fair.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman.
Actually, one question I had was already addressed about the landscaping and so forth. The other one I had was the trails that people would actually go on. Are there specific trails that you hand out a map or whatever? A lot of people are from out of town, are not familiar with a lot of the different areas around here, so they have a specific trail map that they go on?
Yes, so yes, we do. In regards to it, we have all our maps laminated. What we do, especially with the pandemic going on right now, we spray it down, sanitize it every single time. So in regards to maps and when people come from out of town, we have an overview map from here to Sedona. And then within that overview map, we do have smaller trails that we recommend to people.
Okay.
I.e., there's a Rancher OHV loop, which is about a 2-hour loop that if there's a 2-hour rental, that's the one that we recommend to people. And then we lay it out, we have a highlighter, so we do everything on our end. Of course, you never know with people. People do get lost, it's inevitable. And so the nice thing is we do have service out there, so if they have an issue, all they have to do is really call us in a situation like that. And yeah, so we try to guide them in the right direction. We do say it's okay to get lost. Don't worry about it. Take a deep breath, because it can be overwhelming. And yeah, we try to get them back, and so far everyone's gotten back.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Mr. Cisco, any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I really don't want to belabor the subject, but the vice chairman brought it up, and it has come up. I don't think I fully understand where the customer is going to pick up the vehicle, and then where or how many trails there are, because there is a potential for 5 or 6 ATVs running around town looking for trails or coming back from trails. And I know Main Street is a busy street, it's a hard street, and we've all been in Sedona, we've all been subjected to those ATVs up there. So I think the 2 concerns are the ATVs running around town, the noise, because they are loud, and the traffic that they could get into, especially during the busy season here, which should be coming up in the fall, but with the pandemic, we don't know. So those are really my concerns, is the community, the traffic, the noise, getting to the trails, getting back to the trails, from the trails.
First of all, the amount of vehicles are 8. And we do not anticipating growing, especially with everything that's happened these past few weeks. Second of all, The trails are legitimately, you go Main Street to Mingus, which is 2 blocks away. You take Mingus to 89A. So it is not, if we send them that way, they are not going through Old Town. From dealing with Cottonwood Chamber, they do like us to get them back through Old Town or in which way, because they're trying to promote Old Town. And a lot of people are not aware of what Old Town has to offer. So with that being said, the amount of vehicles and the noise level with our hours, we are very limited. We're not going to do 7 a.m. We have no intention of opening early, and we don't want to be past that 5 marker. So that will keep that noise, because it's only getting in and out. So our busiest weekend has been Memorial Day, and if we have 12 rentals distributing and everything, in town it's very nominal. You know what I mean? It's us with a trailer, us with a, and then getting them back, cleaning them, that kind of stuff. So overall, we personally haven't had a complaint. If no one is, I don't know if anyone has anyone here. But moving forward, our goal is to keep that. We don't want, we want to promote Cottonwood. We don't want to hurt Cottonwood by any means, because I don't enjoy going to Sedona myself. Okay, so I'm going to be very honest on that, because it's Dry Creek Road. We don't want that. So we're looking, as far as the trails, if you go up Bill Gray Road, there's hundreds of trails, like tens, everyone who's ridden out here, which most people have ridden at one time or another, the vast amount of trails are enough, and we do not cross a lot of trails with Sedona. So we don't have the same issues that they do. And that's why we've also this year have purchased 4 new vehicles, so that we don't have the same issues, in maintenance and getting people in and out, that it's not disturbing the city.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right. Yes, I had my 3 concerns. I think we've answered 2, but I may want to make them as stipulations. But also on the landscaping a little bit, I think that'd be great. I would like to see, we're trying to improve Main Street as well as the residential area behind it through landscaping as these come up and these parcels that developed. And we've done a pretty good job for the most part. We've had some that fudge a little bit, but I'll just ask this as a recommendation, and hopefully it may be along the front. I know you don't want to hide those vehicles from view. You don't want to put trees and things, but some more low-growing little shrubs and things in that area extending back out to the east a little bit would be very helpful if you can, just to decorate it up a little bit more, not to, we don't want you to block your view of your vehicles. That's key, to your advertising. The other 2 concerns, and we'll talk to the commission, and I need to talk to the director through, will be, that you will not do any major maintenance on site, and that there will be no driving away from, we'll get some wording. Basically, nobody will be driving their vehicles away from this site. You'll meet them off sites. So we'll try to come. And have you read the other stipulations that we're requiring tonight? Have you read the 5 stipulations? I want to make sure you don't have any problem with those.
I believe so.
That's where we're asking for the approval. It's right under the required findings, on page 3.
On page 3?
The bottom of page 3. And it goes over to the top of page 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck. Good. Thank you. We have one slip from Mr. Michael Mangini, sir. Would you please come to the lectern and would you give your name for the record, please, sir?
Mike Mongini, P.O. Box 265, Cottonwood. I'm here to speak about that amendment of the ordinance for RV parks.
Right.
And I can see they're looking at using this conditional use permit in various zones.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So you want to talk on that issue?
Yes.
I apologize. That's my boo-boo. There's been RVs up with the ATVs.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We'll get you back.
ATVs is a great idea.
Okay. That's good. I'm sorry, sir. Okay, good. Now, anybody else would like to address the commission? Ma'am, if you would, did you fill out would you want to come on up to the podium? And then I need to have you fill out a slip from the back of the room when you're through, and then give it to Mr. Davis over here, please. Your name for the record, please.
My name's Alice Librio. I'm actually live right at that.
Right.
I live on 1416. And so I just came just to hear what was going on about this is an ATV, about an ATV.
Right.
The boat business still happens. There's still there are two businesses there, right?
There will be, yes.
But they have been running that for a long time, the boat.
Yeah, the ATVs, now we're making it official. Yes, they had to come and get permission.
Okay, yeah. My only concern is noise.
Yes.
And what time of day things are happening. That's all my concern is. And I think I was kind of impressed with what they had to say.
Yes.
So hopefully it'll be run all, not helter-skelter, but just what are the hours?
9 to 5, and they'll be renting off-site, so they'll take the vehicles on a trailer out to the sites where they'll be driving. There won't be any ATVs driving up and down the streets.
Okay.
Main Street or...
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay?
that's all I wanted to know. Thank
All righty,
you.
good.
Yeah.
And if you would fill a little slip out the back and give it to Mr. Davis for here so we have it for the record. Thank you. Nobody else? Okay. I'm going to close the floor to the public. I think I would like to see 2 additional stipulations because I don't think they're not built into these stipulations about the operation as far as the actual off-site rental or operation of these vehicles. They will not operate directly off this site.
I would hate to limit it to the point where we say there's none, but I would say it should be a minimal amount of driving off-site. So if I was going to recommend a stipulation, it would be the stipulation being that it's a minimal amount of ATV traffic being driven off of site comparative to none. Because if we go none, then that kind of boxes them in comparative to a limited. And because we have built-in things that say we can revoke it at any point in time, I think that covers it as long as we say, hey, we should keep it limited. Like 80% should be off-site. Like give them a number, like 80% of these things should be taken off-site, 20% maybe on-site, or 90-10.
I don't like to just limit it because that's in the mind, whose mind is limited. But yeah, if we put a percentage,
like a percentage so that they understand, okay, this is how much can be done. But I would hate to say there'll be none because I don't want to box them in completely.
And then also major maintenance is off-site. Any other conditions? Does that sound like something that would be?
I think that we should prohibit parking in that landscape buffer, which they say is going to be granite, and which I believe them. But sometimes the future holds strange things, and I think that we should just prohibit it because if it's impacting the residents of that street, in my head, I'm just envisioning people sticking their vehicles in there. If it's granite, you can park on it.
Right. Any other, Mr. Hart, those 3 things sound like?
Well, actually, as part of the landscaping, can that wall be painted and cleaned up?
Well, that's not their building.
Yeah, well, it's not their building?
No.
Okay.
No.
I thought it was the back
That's part of the other operation,
Is that
the kayak
back of
operation.
the kayak?
Yeah.
And we can't do anything to encourage them to clean it up?
I wouldn't think we could, no, we can't. And I don't think we should
Because
force
every
them
time I
to have
look
to
at
paint
that,
somebody
that's
else's
really,
building.
yeah, we can
I
put the
know.
landscaping in, but that wall is really ugly.
Yeah, okay. Those other stipulations sound to make sense too.
No additional stipulations.
Okay. And any other additions? I think those are three really good points. If I can, we'll leave it up to our new vice chairman to come up with the verbiage.
Figure out the word.
I'm trying. I think we just want to ensure we just don't have a real noise problem, particularly for the residents, and also congestion going in and out of that street, and the maintenance. And, it's all well intended, but we don't want it to come back on site and see that when we need to have that, if we determine that we need to revoke it because there's a problem.
Did you want to consider, Mr. Chairman, a possibility of hours of operation limitation as opposed to coming up with some limited 20%, 80% wording?
Well, I think we already limited the hours, right? They've already stipulated their hours will be
9 to 5.
9
yeah.
to 5.
I think I have some pretty good wording.
It's not a stipulation, though.
No, but I have some additional stipulations that are written down, so that should help add to it. I guess, again, my only concern is the landscaping, and that as long as they stay in compliance with the things we've talked about tonight, I think the conditional use permit would work. And again, it leaves us the ability to revoke it if at any point in time it becomes a public safety issue or some other type of hindrance.
Okay. You ready to make a motion, sir, with the new stipulations as well?
Oh, and I do have one more question. It says on here, it says the parcels will be combined into a single parcel. So on the stipulations, number 3, number 3, it says the parcels shall be combined into a single parcel. This is only one parcel, right?
No, it's on 3 separate small lots. This was a subdivision that was created in 1917.
Okay, so there's actually 3 of them.
There's actually 3 separate parcels owned by the same property owner. And whenever we have a use come in that's straddling 3 parcels, we try to have them combined because there are problems when somebody tries to go across a property line.
The owner's agreeable to that?
We don't know.
All right. Okay. The applicant indicated that.
Applicant indicates that he is. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
That's good.
All right, so I would move to approve CUP 20-006 to allow Jonathan Cawley, Vortex ATV, to operate an all-terrain vehicle rental business at 551 North Main Street, subject to the following stipulations. Number 1, that the project is developed in conformance with the site plan submitted with this application and reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission on July 20th, 2020. The project shall be developed in conformance with the zoning ordinance, section 407, landscaping requirements. The parcel shall be combined into a single parcel to the Yavapai County Assessor's Office within 60 days of this approval. A certificate of zoning compliance documenting the completion of conditions shall be issued within 12 months for the date of the approval. Number 5 would be no major maintenance will be conducted on site. And number 6 stipulation would be that 80% of ATV business will be 80% of ATV rentals will be conducted and delivered to off-site locations.
And then
number 7 would be the City of Cottonwood reserves the right to revoke the conditional use permit if the use creates an irremediable public safety problems as determined by the city. And then number 8 be any other stipulations the Planning and Zoning Commission deems necessary.
Parking.
Yeah, we can do it. Okay, do I have a second?
Wait, hold on. Do we have a?
The parking stipulation, the no parking behind on
Yes, I'm
Greenlee.
sorry. Yes.
And an additional, so it'd be 7, 8, 9. 9 stipulation will be there'll be no parking in the
On East Greenlee Street.
on East Greenlee Street in the landscape area.
Yes.
That sound okay? Yes, Mr. Okay. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Hart
Second.
seconds the motion of the Vice Chairman. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hart,
Aye.
Commissioner Maston,
Aye.
Commissioner DeSisto,
Aye.
Commissioner Sherman,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Dowell,
Aye.
Chairman Williams.
Aye, unanimously carried. Good luck. All right. Now we'll get to Mr. Mangini's.
Not quite yet.
Okay, you want to do you want to do that last, right? You want to do the R43? Okay, that's good. The next one is amendment to City of Cottonwood zoning ordinance, section 411. This is ZO 20007. Mr. Davis, what are we talking about here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is a proposal to make a small change in the zoning ordinance dealing with the front yard setback in the AR43 and AR20 zones. Right now, this is a comparison of what the setbacks, front yard setbacks are in the single-family zones. R1 is 25 feet. AR20, which requires a half-acre lot, almost a half-acre lot, has a 30-foot setback. AR43, which requires 43,000 square feet, almost an acre for any new lot that's created in an AR43 zone, has a 40-foot front yard setback. AR70, which is about an acre and 3/4, minimum lot size 50 feet, and GA 5-acre lot size 50 feet for the front yard setback. What we're proposing in this ordinance amendment would be to change the AR20 front yard setback to 20 feet and the AR43 to 25 feet. And our rationale is this. Throughout the city, this is the central part of the city of Cottonwood, these zones have been applied in areas that had already been developed at the time that the zoning ordinance was first adopted. The circled area there is a strip of several lots that were zoned AR43 that had already been developed in the late 20s along Airport Road between Mingus Avenue and Black Hills Drive now. There's another section of AR43 farther south. Those are newer, those are larger lots. We don't have the same kind of issues in those areas. We do have similar issues, though, in the AR20 towards the east of Main Street, the Main Street in Mingus, Main Street in Cherry area. A lot of that area is zoned AR20, and there's some AR20 down in the Sawmill Drive area as well. Just zeroing in on a couple of these things. This is the area on Airport Road just south of Black Hills Drive. This area is zoned AR43. This section of houses here, about 6 houses in a row, was built in the 1920s, and they all have a front setback of just about 25 feet. And if somebody was to come in and ask for an addition permit that was within that 25 feet or along the side of the building, we wouldn't be able to grant it to them because the front yard setback in AR43 is 40 feet right now. And these houses, again, were built way before the zoning code ever was applied to these areas. Similar area, this is Mingus Avenue in the lower part of the screen, 17th Street, which is a block east of Main Street, runs north and south here. This is AR20 zone. There are a number of houses in here that are 25 feet and closer, some approaching 20 feet along both 17th Street and Mingus, and a few other areas as well. Most of these lots are larger lots. Most of these lots are half-acre lots, which is what the zoning prescribes. But again, the zoning was applied after some of these houses were built. So we have a number of these situations where we've got a non-conforming structure on the property, and it can make it difficult for them to come in for additions and things. So that is our proposal for the AR 43 and AR 20 zoning classifications.
Very fine. The minimum for R1, though, is 25 feet, right?
Yes.
So we're going to do a larger lot down to 20 feet. Okay. All right.
Most of the R1 zoned areas are newer subdivision lots elsewhere in the city. The older areas, the areas I was just showing you, and the Old Town area, which is zoned R2, which has the, doesn't show here, but it has a 20-foot setback. That seemed to be what people were building to back in those days. But yeah, you're right, the R1 does have a front yard setback of 25 feet.
I guess I'm concerned about the number of those lots may be redeveloped. If we allow them a 20-foot setback, they could come in and rebuild, tear down the old structure, rebuild, and we're only requiring something less than we would do in an R1 district. And that's just my personal feeling on that. And we're not voting on this tonight, right? You're asking just for us?
You can.
You want us, okay, to recommend it to the council?
Yeah, it's optional. If you want to have some more time to think it over, discuss it again next time, we can do that. But if not, if there's a consensus tonight, we can certainly get a recommendation from you tonight.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Very good. Commissioner Hart.
Do you have any mechanism in your permitting process if, for example, somebody has a building that's already in violation of the setback because it's just a pre-existing condition? Do you have any mechanism for allowing what in some communities is called continuing use of a non-conforming structure?
They can continue to use the non-conforming structure where it is. The problem comes in if they want to build an addition with the same front yard setback, it's 20 feet or 25 feet, then that's a problem.
Okay, well, the reason I'm asking because other communities allow people to do that. That if you have if you already have something non-conforming, after proper design review, the design review board can allow that. So you can continue on that line, on that face, and continue them to be a non-conforming structure. I'd recommend that, you consider trying to find some way of adding that to the code.
Well, that's something that if we got direction.
Or add that as a mechanism within the permitting process.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hart, we do have a non-conforming section of the zoning ordinance. Just like any ordinance, it unfortunately doesn't cover every possibility that's out there. What we run into is typically the expansion of a non-conforming use or structure, and there are provisions to allow it under certain circumstances. Even with a conditional use permit, which would be brought before this commission. There's very, very few times that you could encroach into a front yard setback. One of those times is, for example, for a porch. So if you have a 20-foot setback, you can go a certain amount of feet into that with a porch. However, the way the ordinance is written now, somebody who is already in violation of their front setback, which Gary showed you on those examples, they couldn't do it because they don't meet their front setback already. So they're not allowed to extend up to 6 feet into their required front setback with a porch. And the way the non-conforming portion of our code is written, it doesn't warrant itself to letting them come get a conditional use permit for it either. So they're stuck, and if they want a front porch, they can't get one, and by no fault of their own.
Okay, well, the issue I'm thinking of trying to address is if somebody, the setback's here and the building is here, and they want to extend the building out farther, that there's a mechanism where they can, okay, we're not going to go farther into the setback, but we want to expand the face of our building to match with what's already there.
So are you saying if they wanted to go maybe towards the rear, but they don't already meet their front? And we have that provision already to allow them to do that. Yes.
Okay.
That's in our
All right, it was
non-conforming
sounding
section.
like with this, from his description, it sounded like he was saying that you couldn't do that.
Well, no, like I said, there is very certain circumstances that has to apply to it in order to get a conditional use permit to expand that, what would be non-conforming use or structure. If they didn't meet their current front setback and they wanted to expand backwards, but they would still meet their rear setback, that would be something to look at bringing here for a conditional use permit. So we have that provision in there now.
Oh, okay, all right. It just sounded like it didn't. All right, thank you.
I don't have an issue, sir.
I don't have the answer.
I don't have any.
You okay with the 20-foot setback?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Because we've got some violations on it? Okay. It just seems to me that's probably not right, but I can live with that, I guess. Okay, if we're okay to that, we can entertain a motion to recommend to the council approval of this amendment to the zoning ordinance.
I would move to recommend approval to the City Council Amendment Section 411.d and 412.d, changing minimum front yard setback standards in the AR 43 and AR 20 zoning districts.
Do I have a second?
Okay, I'll second.
Commissioner Mattson seconds the Vice Chairman's motion. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hart?
Aye.
Commissioner Maston?
Aye.
Commissioner DeSisto?
Aye.
Commissioner Sherman? Aye. Vice Chairman Dow?
Aye.
Chairman Williams?
Aye. Unanimously carried. Good. All right. Onward and upward. Now we'll finally get there. Gary, ZO 20-006 amendment to the City of Cottonwood zoning ordinance, adding a new section to 409 recreation vehicle and manufactured home parks. What do we got here, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What we have here is kind of a hole in our zoning code right now that the zoning code does not have standards for RV parks. It has standards for manufactured home parks that's in the zoning district for mobile manufactured homes, but not anything for RV parks. So that's one thing that we would like to establish, and we've done some research in other jurisdictions to find out what their standards are and come up with some basic standards on these things. The other issue is that unlike a number of other jurisdictions, the City of Cottonwood only allows RV parks in zones that are more rural, agriculture type zones where campgrounds were allowed, but not in commercial zones. And virtually every other jurisdiction allows an RV park in commercial zones, similar to lodging types of uses. So currently, right now, we allow RV parks in the general agriculture zone, agricultural residential zones, and commercial residential zones as a CUP. That's a conditional use in all those zones. You'd have to come through the public process for a conditional use permit process in all those. And we have, as I say, no standards for development of an RV park. What we're proposing is to add C1 and C2 to that list. And by extension, that could also be allowed in I2 because I2 allows C2 uses by extension. And we would also add RV park standards to the manufactured home park standards, combine those into a new section of the zoning code. And that's what you have in front of you in your packet. So this new section 409 would start out with section A that has basic standards for both RV parks and manufactured home parks, making requirements on access and driveways. Access would be off of major roads, not snaking through neighborhoods on local streets, requiring street lighting within the parks, usable open space, requirements for utilities, and provisions for limitations on RV storage areas within those areas. Those are very common to have both in RV parks and manufactured home parks. And then section B would have specific yard and spacing requirements for manufactured home parks and similar but different numbers, yards and spacing requirement for the RV parks. That concludes our presentation. You have the proposal in front of you. You've got the list of other jurisdictions and what types of zones they allow RV parks in, and also a list of existing RV parks. A number of them are in Cottonwood. Some of them are in commercial zones already and are pre-existing. So that concludes our presentation, unless there are questions.
Okay. The only question I have, we talked about the other day, was the industrial zones. So we're in C2, right? That would also be allowable in I2, but not I1.
Not I1.
Why is...
I1 has a specific provision in there, and Scott has the code in front of him, that specifically prohibits those, I don't know if it says residential uses or...
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, it does specifically exclude RV parks in the purpose section of the I-1 zoning code. There's very, very few sections of the city that are zoned I-1. I think there's only a couple, and part of it's already developed, part of it's not. Years ago, even before my time, it was already in place like that. That's nothing recent. For whatever reason, they decided to exclude specifically RV parks. My guess is to avoid having the very minimal I-1 zoning we have become something like that. They like to keep that in more of the commercial and or industrial areas. As Gary said, right now, I-2 does allow for anything in the C2 zone except for residences and manufactured home parks. However, things like hotels, transient lodging, hotels and motels would still be allowed. That's what you just approved tonight with the stipulation was a hotel in the I-2 zone. So an RV park can be looked at as really no different. It's intended for transient lodging. That's the intent there. Same with the hotels. So it really comes down to interpretation. Yes, we all know that some RV parks lend themselves to long-term residences, but doing it as a conditional use permit gives you the ability to help eliminate that.
Okay. All right. I can see it. So this isn't feasible because of the size of the lot, but feasibly with this, the other half of the city parcel, just where the hotel's going, could become an RV park. And it's not physically, it's too small, but I mean,
if they met the development standards, any portion of I-2 could potentially be.
Okay. Just
with a conditional use permit.
Right.
Right. Right. Okay. Commissioner Hart, we'll start with you.
I'm gone over it. Everything seems pretty reasonable to me.
Okay.
In terms of what they're wanting to, the verbiage they're wanting to create.
Excuse me, you want to talk to your phone a little louder, please, sir?
I don't have any additional comments, no.
Okay. Commissioner Dow.
Do we have that big of a need to expand this into commercial? are we getting like that many RV park requests that we need to expand and do the commercial? Because my concern is we already have 3 zones that are good for it, but now we're going to start eating commercial zones up, or the I-2, which I disagree with. What's the need to expand it? Are we getting overrun by RV park permits, or are we just trying to get ahead of the ballgame?
Well, part of it is getting ahead of the ball game, and part of it is we list the existing RV parks in Cottonwood area. We've had some inquiries about making some major renovations in those areas, adding on, making some changes to that. We'd like to have standards in place, and it also, again, is it a question of, is this a commercial use that is similar to lodging and something that can bring the same thing to the community commercially as lodging does?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with the new standards of space and square footage. Again, my only issue is, do we need to expand it to the commercial side of it, to where we're eating up more commercial space now? And I think it would absolutely bring more to the city if it is a short-time rental. But I think that's a problem because, from my experience, they don't become short-time rentals. They become year after year after year, and we're not. The intended use is to bring people in, let them enjoy the recreation, and then go out. And we don't see that. We see people who are in the same RV spot for a year or 2 years, and now we're just eating those spaces up with more. We're not getting the intended use out of it. So my concern is, if we did this, that there be a stipulation on it has to be limited to a short-term agreement, whatever that happens to be, whether it be 6 months or 3 months or a year. And I don't agree with it being I-2. So I guess that would be my concern, is I don't like the I-2 part of it. And I'm not overly certain I like eating up more commercial space. I could kind of go commercial, but the I-2, I'd be like, no. So.
I think that my experience with these kind of parks is different than some of my fellow commissioners because it's through my in-laws who are bougie people. And I've been to some really beautiful short-term RV parks in Palm Springs and in Paso Robles, California, and these are huge for the tourism industry. And like when I look at Cottonwood's seal there, where it says the heart of Arizona wine country, like I've seen how wine country can benefit from the kind of people who visit upscale RV parks. So I think it would be a good thing for us to have. And I do get the logic, especially of like the C1 zone, like that just makes sense to me. It feels like, especially like with outdoor entertainment and stuff, a lot of the RV parks I've seen couple with those kind of things. Like you'll have an RV park and then like another thing, and it's owned by the same company, and the people who visit the RV park do the thing. So I think that is good. I wish there was a way to decouple the industrial use, because there is relatively little of it, and I do agree about that. I think, is there a way to put language so that it doesn't, if you give them C2 use, they don't get the industrial use, or is that impossible?
There would be a way to do that. Right now, as Scott said, the I2 allows C2 uses but prohibits residential uses, including manufactured home parks, and RV parks could be added to that theoretically too. And again, this is something that we don't necessarily need a action on tonight. You can give us some instructions to go away and rewrite things and bring them back next month.
Right. Commissioner Sherman.
I don't really have any questions at this point. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Mr. Sisko.
Obviously, being new, I need to familiarize myself with some of the codes and so forth. One issue that did come up, the Vice Chairman, was length of stay. Now, my experience with the Jerome Elks, we had behind the lodge, we had 10 spaces. And it was understood that it was limited to just 10 days maximum that you could stay there. So, I'm not sure if that's an issue right now, but that is a suggestion I think that can be made when we get RV usage, that there is a stipulation on how many days they can stay there. We did find that the people that stayed there were Elks, but besides that, they enjoyed being so close to Sedona. Okay, so, it did bring in business for the local businesses.
To answer your question, there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can have a length of stay limitation. Some cities have done that. Clarkdale has that in their equivalent of C1 zoning. The new Rain Spirit RV park that went in there is limited to, I believe, no more than 6 months at a time. We're a little bit concerned about that from an enforcement standpoint. How do you enforce something like that? You go knock on people's door, how long you've been living there, that sort of thing. Other possibility is limiting the type of recreational vehicle that's in there. There are a number of RV parks that bring in tiny houses or park models, and they're essentially small-scale manufactured home parks in many ways. People rent there yearly. So, and then there's usually, you'll see a hybrid of both. You'll have an RV park that has several spaces for overnighters, short-termers, and then several spaces that are more long-term. So you can expect to get a mixture depending on the type of vehicle.
Yeah, I would like to see the I-2 exception be built into this. I really like the standards idea. I think that the time enforcement issue, how do you really, the parks aren't going to enforce it, and I don't think we should ask them to, and the city doesn't have the staff to do that, to go around and check on that. But I would like to really table, any recommendation to the city council for tonight.
Let's not forget Mr. Mongini.
Yeah, we'll get to Mr. Mongini. I want to get his input on this also. So that can be done, though, Gary. Is what I'm saying, and if we want to do that. Very good. Mr. Mongini, we'll now give you the floor, sir.
Thank you. Mike Mongini, P.O. Box 265, Cottonwood. I'll just jump right to it. On the I-2 zoning, if you can put up the zoning map, I appreciate it. Just so I have an area to point to. We have some industrial land that's both leased from the city of Cottonwood and that we own up by the airport. And we've been looking to put an RV park in Cottonwood for about 10 years. And we have a lodge up at Happy Jack, but it's principally an RV park. It's very much a seasonal RV park because in the wintertime it's Arctic up there, so we really don't have a lot of people staying there in the wintertime. We do periodically, but generally there's nobody there in the wintertime other than in the lodge facility. What caused us to come in here is we have a group of guys out of East Texas that come through with their Prevost, and there's 5 of them, buddies that travel together every year. And they come and stay at Happy Jack from a week to 2.5 months. And they always show up. And they always come to Cottonwood. And they've always told us, why don't you open an RV park in Cottonwood near downtown? So our first endeavor was to speak to George Gelhart. George, where would you put an RV park? George's first response was just south of town. There's a bank that's got 20 acres that they got back in a foreclosure. That's where you should go. It's zone R3. You can put 600 apartment units there. That'd be perfect. Just come in with your plan. George, I'm not messing with you. I've got that under contract now because that's where we think's the best site. We come in, present to staff, we don't like that. Drug dealers and prostitutes live in RV parks. Well, you got to go to Happy Jack. That's not what we have. That is not our clientele at all. So the point is, they suggest us going next to the airport in the I-2 land. It was prohibited under the I-1 zone, but not the I-2 at the time. So your ordinance was an exclusionary ordinance, meaning the other ones would generally have the right to come in and petition. So we petitioned it. The city was for it. Went down like a lead balloon. FAA said, if you build an RV park there, we won't give you grants for 20 years. So now we have a problem with the FAA. So about 3 years ago, we went to the FAA, city staff, met in Phoenix and asked them, okay, here's where we're looking at doing it, away from the airport, at the higher elevation that's 45 feet above your airport, out of your zone of influence to the airport. We'll put it there. And they come in and say yes. They even had the director from Los Angeles was there. He said, I've heard about this, 100% support, but you have to call it Airport RV, and your sign has to be masonry so that people know they have an RV parked near an airport. So that was our objective, and the ordinances that were passed basically were ones, and I missed it, were basically leaving out CUPs. They were silent on in the industrial zone, the commercial zones. We have a large RV, if I can come over and just point this out. I can't see that one. Hold that one. Here we go. We're in this area here. This is fee land and this is lease land. We have an RV storage area in here, and it currently stores about 500 RVs. So when you start talking about an industry, I use big RVs, I own them, and I own RV parks and stuff, but it's an industry that is not my cup of tea, but people like RVs. And the pandemic is going
All right, I'll get you back to the microphone there, okay? Yes, please. So what we did in there is we went and built an RV park called Sedona View, which is down behind the auto dealers on 260 up on the hill. The back's National Forest on two sides. That was an M2 heavy industrial zone for Yavapai County. Went in there on a PAD use with the county, and that's where we're built in the back. Everybody back there loves it. Then at the same time we're opening, the one in Camp Verde opens up. It's in an opportunity zone. We weren't fortunate enough to have opportunity zones up here in Cottonwood, but they opened up, huge advantage in the return on investment. And they did a beautiful facility there. Now the tide has changed. We're getting the customers, they're losing them. Their customers now are moving to us. Our parks are bigger, our sites are bigger. We recognize there are older people that drive these RVs. They want to have plenty of room not to run into things. And that's what we like to provide. And we would like to come before the commission sometime in the future for an RV park at the locations I pointed out. And principally is these gentlemen, they still show up and they still say, when are you going to do it? And I said, well, we move very, very slow, but it's close to the trail system to come walk to downtown. And they like to park their RV, they like to go for a walk, they like to have dinner. And Commissioner, your parents, they like to walk. Mm-hmm. They walk to something, they like to walk back. The time periods, we love the dailies, because they pay through the nose. We love the weeklies, they pay through the nose. We love the monthlies, they pay through the nose. But it's amazing the seasonals that show up. And what we have here, we predict, is the winter. This is a perfect winter spot for the people out of New York, and that's what we end up at Sedona View. They're all coming from the cold country, and they move in here for the winter, and then they leave as soon as it gets hot. The shocking thing at Sedona View is we've had a surge with summer visitors, and I think it's because the coronavirus, they want to go somewhere, the wine country, and they just move in. But I'd like to keep the I-2 in there, and I'm not sure what I read here. I know they talk about the I-2, but that's section 422, isn't it? The I-2? Because it doesn't, the litany of sections in here doesn't have 422.
Yes, I-2 is section 422.
Was there a reason it wasn't included in the the concept proposal?
Let me get there.
It allows it right now. We're not proposing any change to that.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's changing it to the C2, which
And
by
C1.
default is allowed in the I2. So I2 allows
sorry.
anything allowed in the C2.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, sir.
That's all.
We
Thank you.
appreciate that very much. I'd like to, very much like to see us go ahead with this, but I'm with the vice chairman and whatever, the I-2, we have so little bit of it in industrial area, and this is right up by, the airport area. I envision an RV park on a major street, a major highway.
Well, it does say that it has to be on one of those.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if it's,
I'm just thinking, if the I-2, would that cover behind the airport?
yeah, because Mingus is
Mingus, yeah,
in my
would
opinion,
be, I
it's
guess.
an
It has
artery,
access
so-
to Mingus,
Yeah,
theoretically,
yeah.
I guess if we, in my opinion, there are conditional use permits. I mean, at some point, if we believe the I-2 is being overrun, we just don't grant any more conditional use permits. We
Yeah, the
just
conditional-
stop it where it is,
Right.
so we don't get overwhelmed with them. So I guess that is a mechanism to stop it from just growing like weeds. Again, my only hang-up really is that, and I know we don't have a lot of enforcement, or a lot of ways to enforce the length of stay, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge RVer, my dad is a huge RVer, and we love this, but there are some, they end up being 6 years, 10-year, residences where our intended would be to get more visitors, right? In my opinion, you want more visitors. That's what the RV is parks for. We want to bring those people in and have them, turn. We want to turn the visitors because it's tourism. We're not necessarily looking for more housing. So that's my concern is putting a stipulation of some sort and saying, listen, if you have an RV park, your agreement will be at a certain limit. And the enforcement action is, hey, we want to see your agreements. Where are your agreements at? And that's your enforcement agent. We say, hey, no, you have this person who's been here now, you have 2 agreements, and that person's been here a year. That's over what the stipulation was. So if you don't watch it, we'll get rid of the conditional use permit. So in my opinion, I think there should be some type of limit for length of stay.
I see we have another person would like to speak before the commission on this. If you do, Denise, come up to the podium, please. Oh.
There's an issue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. We'll be right there.
Okay.
I'm coming.
She had a shot in her eye, and there's.
Yeah. All right. I will.
And do you have her eye doctor's appointments?
No, that's fine, dear. All right. Yeah, I'll be right there. We'll. Yeah. If you go up there, I'll see you there. I'm sorry. Thank you. All right. Any other feeling? What about the I-2? We got the conditional use permit, so they would have to come before us, and we still have some control over that
through conditions,
like we did with the
conditional use
hotel. Yeah, and so forth.
So I would just make a recommendation that we leave it as it's written, with the exception that we add some type of mechanism for length of stay. Can we? Is everybody?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that either.
I think seasonal's a good length.
Yeah, it could be seasonal. It could be.
Yeah.
Seasonal might be a little bit subjective, but something like that. Scott? Can we do something like that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commission, you can propose any changes you want to this. we'll put it in under the standard, not necessarily under each listing of conditional use permit, but in the main new section 409 where it talks about RV parks, we can add that stay, and any conditional use permit that came before you, you could reiterate that.
Or another option might be to, in the language, if this is a concern specifically about I-1 or I-2, or is this all? All. Okay.
Okay, so once you
We'll
work
come
on
back
that,
with
we'll bring it up
revised
next
language.
month. It's looking good, though. I think we're on the right track, very much so. I think we're on the right track, and I'm going to turn this meeting. Are we basically through? Do you have any other?
This is the last item.
Yeah, this is the last item. It's up to the commission if you guys want to make a motion to recommend approval with that change, or if you want us to change it and bring it back, that's up to the commission.
I'd like to see it, bring it back to us.
Okay. and then-
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to bring it back next meeting. Can we do that?
Make a motion to table it, and we'll bring it
Table
back
it?
with those
Yeah,
changes.
all right, to table it, all right.
So,
Second to that
Mr.
motion?
Commissioner, I'll make a motion to table.
Mr. Hart seconds the Vice Chairman's motion to table this, considering this particular item till next meeting.
Commissioner Hart?
Aye.
Commissioner Maston?
Aye.
Commissioner DeSisto?
Aye.
Commissioner Sherman?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Dow?
Aye.
Chairman Williams?
Aye. So carried unanimously. Thank you. I'm going to run along. If we don't have any other items, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
My wife's having...